So there's never been a better time, really, to put pen to paper and use our time kind of creatively and do something useful with the free time that we've got right now. And there's something great happening. It launches on Friday officially in Liverpool and then across the UK. Writing on the Wall is the organisation that's kind of leading on this with Liverpool City Council and with Mike Morris. Mike, just tell us what Writing's on the Wall is first off.
Writing on the Wall is a writing festival that takes place every May. In May this year, we celebrate our 21st anniversary. It lasts for a month and involves writers, local writers, national, international writers, Booker Prize winners, new writers, lots of debates, lots of discussions. And we also run a year-round programme of projects that run from right to work to help people gain employment, superheroes, words are our power in schools, what's your story, with a whole range of different communities, and an online writing centre that we launched as part of the lockdown. Called the Writers Block. We have a whole bunch of projects going on there. So yeah, it's kind of a very busy program. We employ 9 people, and last year we employed about 45 freelancers. Trying to support the sector as well in terms of the delivery.
So why did you set this up initially? So what was the kind of reason behind this? Is it to support local writers?
It actually grew out of the dock strike back in the late 90s. There was a creative writing group set up from there that resulted in the writing of the film Dockers that went out on Channel 4 back then after the dispute. And a couple of ideas came out of that, and one of those was the idea of a writing festival. So it grew up out of that, and it grew up with a very kind of focused ethos around kind of social justice and diversity. And all of those things, as well as kind of bringing great writers to the city. And one of the key elements was about inspiring and encouraging new writers, to kind of put the pen to paper, get the stories out of them, the novels, their poems, the screenplays, the plays, whatever that might be, and creating pathways for them to do that. Because I don't think it's just good enough to say, "Oh, come on, get writing," you can do it. I think for a lot of writers, it's difficult to kind of progress your ideas once you have had the initial spark of inspiration, and then in thinking about getting it published or getting it performed, or getting it accepted or getting an agent, quite an opaque process for many people. So I think we've been able to break that down quite a lot for people over the years and build up a wider community of writers, and the results of that are shown in the amount of people who've been published through the work that we do, and a lot of other people across the city as well.
Liverpool has got a kind of huge list of incredible writers, whether that be, as you say, novels or film writers, screenwriters. Some of the writers even on some of the soaps over the years, a lot of them stem from Liverpool. We've always done well in that respect, haven't we?
We have done well, and I think particularly in terms of television, some major names out there, aren't there? Or theatre, Willie Russell, Jimmy McGovern, and people like that as well. And I suppose, and the same, children's writers and it's screenwriters as well, the likes of Frank Cottrell Boyce. So there are some really, incredible internationally known names that have come from this city. I think we are a city of words, in many senses. And I think that, a lot of that comes from, quite often the sense of injustice, of either living in difficult conditions, living in poverty, which is still astounding in Liverpool, all these years. We run a project on a guy called George Garrett, who was a seaman and writer back in the 30s. And we published 10 Years on the Parish, his autobiography for Liverpool University Press. It was all about poverty in the 1930s. And, sad to say, a lot of the things he was writing about are still relevant today. So I think it comes from that. I think there's lots of, creative sparks in this city and lots of things to get your teeth into, which is probably one of the reasons why, there's such a kind of successful stream of writers that have come, and many unknown names, many, James Hanley, people who were prolific writers, who now aren't as well known, but have kind of kept that torch burning over the years.
Can anyone write, Mike? Can literally anyone do it? They say, don't they, there's a writer in everyone, there's an artist in everyone. Is it something that anyone can do?
I think it is something anybody can do. I mean, you can pick up your pen at any point. I mean, one of the things is, as I think it was Kevin Sampson actually in a workshop many years ago said, a blank page is freedom. You can go anywhere. So yes, I think anybody can write, but like in anything, it's like saying anybody can, fix the tap.
Yeah.
Well, yeah, we can all have a go at it, whether it's going to, it might end up being a leaky tap if we're not careful. You have to practice it. I think you shouldn't be afraid of it. There are no rights and wrongs. I think, rules in writing are there to be broken, and many writers have done that over the years. If you take Welsh, when he train spot. I don't think many people thought that would be as successful because of the way that it was written. Absolutely stunning novel. There's no right and no wrongs, but like any craft, I think you have to practice it and you have to dedicate yourself to it. And if you have an idea, let's say it's for a short story, flash fiction, a poem, a screenplay, whatever it is, you have to put yourself in for the long haul on it. You have to take advice. You have to listen to other people. You have to read critically to see what works in writing. So yes, I think anyone can write. Whether anyone's going to be, a genius writer, well, there's lots of things that separate us out from the great writers. But most of all, what they had was, a willingness to continue to learn and not to be afraid, and not to be afraid of rejection either.
It leads us on perfectly to what's happening in Liverpool. We've got a great festival launching with yourselves and Liverpool City Council. So tell us about what's happening, Mike.
Okay, so on Friday the 22nd at 11 a.m, we're launching the 2021 Liverpool Year of Writing. Now that's we're being asked to lead on it with Liverpool City Council, but I want to point out that there's an amazing kind of group of partners who are taking part in that, all of which you'll see online, and we've been having planning meetings to try and pull this together. Lots of things are difficult at the moment in terms of COVID and getting things moving. But, we put together a programme that will be rolled out and developed over the year. It's part of a 3-year strategy that the council has. So last year was the year of reading, this year, year of writing, next year, the year of oracy or spoken word. And the aim of that is to, try and work with literacy in the city, try and raise the levels of literacy. And I think creative engagement, this year through writing can be one of the best ways to do that. So the idea of the year of writing is it's an engaged year. And so it's to encourage people to write themselves, not just to be passive partners, if you like. And we're putting together a whole bunch of initiatives, and they range from, as I mentioned before, the writer's block, the online writing centre plays a role in that. We have writers in residence there, starting next week with the award-winning children's writer, Patrice Lawrence. Workshops, masterclasses, etc. Many of the writers across the city are going to be getting involved in doing that. It'll range from things like game-based writing workshops, writing advice desks in libraries, community-based writing workshops. LA Productions are talking about doing script writing competitions, giving writers feedback on the scripts. We're talking about heritage trails that link to writing. And later in the year, and a lot of these things, obviously, we have to have a plan A and a plan B because of COVID. But we're talking about the idea of a big writers marketplace and a writers boot camp for adults and children. We're also going to be, beaming into schools with writers, talking to children in schools, whether that be online or hopefully live at some point later on, so that people are able to, kind of learn from other writers, listen to them. And then what we're going to do, using the hashtag Liverpool Writes, is asking people to upload their stuff, record themselves reading it or performing, type it up, send it in, take a photo of your writing. Doesn't really matter. There's no wrongs. And as much as we can get together, the work of people across the city region will be for the better, I think. And we're starting with the launch on Friday, and then next week we're beginning a series of activities called Right Here, Right Now, which is a 10-minute daily writing burst. And next week we're going to have a children's writer in the morning and a writer for adults in the evening. We've got great writers who are going to be leading on that, such as Frank Cottrell-Boyce, Patrice Lawrence, Levi Tafari, Winnie M. Lee, Jeff Young, Ash Nugent, Pat Graham, Jack Byrne, Louise Fazachli, Natalie Denny, Mandy Redvers Rowe, a whole bunch of people doing that. And the idea with that is, like a lot of writers and quite a few books that talk about writing, they recommend different ways of getting started. Sometimes you call it the morning pages. Hemingway said that, he basically regarded his first 2 pages of writing as clearing his throat. The idea being that you put pen to paper, there'll be a writing prompt from the writer, which could be, it's raining outside today, which it is. And then to say, okay, let's get your pen on paper. Don't stop writing for 10 minutes. It's just another thing to kind of get the creative juices flowing. So that's going to be next week. And then the week after, there's going to be a series of events led by early years writers, Jude Lennon and Natalie Reeves-Billing. And that's going to be activities for early years, the parents, teachers, carers, can do with the early years children, and then we'll be spinning those out at different points throughout the year as well.
You know what? Great for homeschooling as well, then, isn't it, Mike? To give parents a little lift. We're going to put all that information, the schedule, everything else that you need online on the guideliverpool.com. It's funny you said that then about the blank pages, because we sometimes put little videos out. I'm sure you've seen them with poems on about Liverpool. And it's my job to come up with these poems, Mike. And sometimes it can take 6 hours to do a little 30-second poem. But sometimes it's just about starting, isn't it? And starting to write, and then you kind of move on from there, don't you?
I think that, yeah, you do get those moments where, suddenly it just seems to come together and it's all there, but they are the rarities, aren't they, to be honest with you? They say, a lot about writing is editing. The main thing is to get the stuff down on the page. Write it, whatever it may be, put it down and leave it. Come back to it. You will have grown a little bit in between that time. You'll also have a different view of it. You'll know what to take out. You'll know what are the gems that you can kind of develop. And I think a lot of people get discouraged because it is one of those things, as you say, that you can pick up your pen and do. And some people get discouraged because the first thing they put down, they're not sure about it. They don't think it's very good. They're not confident. They're afraid of sharing it with other people and all of those things. And I think, it is kind of, a bit of a cliche, but, face the fear. Don't be afraid to put it down. And, if you get stuck, okay, fine. Don't necessarily bang your head against a brick wall. Go away, read some other stuff, do something else, come back to it, and just have that aim in your mind. And don't necessarily overstretch yourself too much at the beginning. Don't think, oh, I'm going to write the world-beaten novel. Just try and get some stuff down, make a start, and then what we're hoping with the Year of Writing is to provide pathways and stepping stones to support people in developing their work and hopefully getting it to a point that they're happy with it, that they will publish it with us online, put it up there, and we'll be involving agents and authors. There will be competitions. We run a competition every year called Pulp Idol, which is like Pop Idol for writers, aimed at unpublished novelists, and we've had through that probably about 13 people now have been published, some with quite major publishing contracts. So pathways like that will be there for people to test themselves against and maybe give themselves a target to aim for too.
Brilliant. Well, listen, it all kicks off Friday. Liverpool's Year of Writing with Writing on the Wall. Mike Morris, thank you so much, and thanks for everything you do in Liverpool. The live stuff that you've done last year certainly got a lot of people through lockdown in 2020. So let's see more of it in 2021. Mike Morris, thank you.
Thank you very much, Jay. See you later. Take care.